Kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy. So are you Kadosh? Are you holy? Are you redeemed? If you're redeemed, then the answer is yes. You are Rishon Nolad, you are a spiritual firstborn, set apart, sacred and reserved. But reserved for what? First and foremost to minister to Yahweh. As one of his set apart, Levi, Kohen, it's our job to make sure that the menorah burns brightly in the darkness, and to proclaim his designated times, and also to proclaim the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You ever heard that before a court case? And they promise all of those things, and then they proceed to lie, and more lies, and even greater lies. And that's just the defence attorney. He didn't really mean to do it. Your job is to distinguish between the sacred or set apart from the common or profane, or the clean from the unclean. One of the first things he taught them when Noah went into the ark was to separate the clean from the unclean. He taught them with animals. What were the clean animals? What were the unclean animals? And that was the basis for all of this. You're to keep your spiritual garments clean. You're to be available for a season or seasons of service. Many of you have heard the accusation. They're so heavenly minded, they're of no earthly use. The first minister that we had, the Presbyterian minister we had in the first church we were involved with, that was one of his favourite sayings. And he actually used it about me for some strange reason when I first got redeemed. Don't be so heavenly minded that you're of no earthly use. I think it must be a Presbyterian thing. And when you first have it said to you, you get a bit condemned because you think you're doing okay. My response to that now is that we need to be the first so that we can be in balance and actually be able to achieve the second. Because either position in the extreme is totally unbalanced. And anything that's totally unbalanced is useless. So it's not a question of the whole thing, it's not a question of either or, it's a question of finding the balance. Being enough heavenly minded to be of complete earthly use. So many people become condemned because they think that others are more holy than them. Either because they are ministers or saints or simply pious people. And the way they try and prove that to people is by whipping themselves and flogging themselves and starving themselves and crawling on their hands and knees. Luther developed his premise about grace after crawling on his hands and knees on a pilgrimage through Rome. There's a particular pilgrimage where you go up sets of stone steps, along stones and along somewhere else like that. And it was during that time when he went on his hands and knees that he realised there's got to be something better than this. There's got to be something more than this. There's got to be a better way. The bottom line is that you are either set aside or redeemed, or you aren't. There's no holy, more holy, super holy. If you're set apart, you're set apart. You don't need to qualify it. And if you're set apart, you're holy. Your behaviour may need to change, but again, it's simplifying it because, like a lot of Jewish concepts, that's only one word that describes the whole thing. There's more involved in it than that. But that will come with time. But the bottom line is, you're set aside. You're a firstborn. There is no more or less, just a walk that's carried out with greater or lesser trust and either partial or complete obedience. And a lot of that comes down to character. Character can be modified if we submit and allow it to be modified. Of course, the greater the responsibility we're given, the greater the accountability and risk. So what we really need to do is to be very careful to only pursue and do what He asks you to do. Don't do things for Him. Everything that you do with Him. He doesn't want you to do things for Him. He wants to do things with you. There's a big difference. We do things to try and please Him. We do things with Him because we're in relationship with Him. We need to do what He wants, where He wants, and how He wants. His plan is to stretch you and not break you. So many times we think, he's going to break me. And He's saying, no, I'm just trying to stretch you. And then I'll stretch you a bit more, and then I'll stretch you a bit more, so that you become capable of much more. His aim is not to break you. That's the last thing He wants. And so keep your eyes firmly on Him. Because it's only that when we decide to run ahead of Him, or lag behind, that we lose sight of Him. And like any small child, when the parents are walking up a path and we run ahead and suddenly turn a corner and don't see them anymore, what do? Panic, get anxious and run back. Or if we lag behind and suddenly we don't see them anymore, the same thing happens. Either one is a problem. It causes us to get anxious and panic. Remember that ability without visibility becomes disability. Yahweh first created Ish, or man, but His actual firstborn was Yeshua, a Redeemer, or Emmanuel, which means Elohim, or God with us. And we are included among those whom He knew in advance. And we're also determined in advance would be conformed to the pattern of His Son, so that He might be the firstborn among many brothers. And those whom He thus determined in advance, He also called. And those whom He called, He also caused to be considered righteous. And those whom He considered to be called righteous, He also glorified. And also, He is the head of the body. People say, who's running this joint? He is. We may be a part of a body, we may be doing all sorts of different things, but at the end of the day, He's the head. And what does the head do? The head figures things out, and the head directs the body. People that have a problem is when they lose that link between the head and the body, and suddenly the body stops working. Physically, it's quite capable of moving. It's quite capable of doing the things it's always done. But if that link is lost and that signal is not sent from the head, the body doesn't work. The body would just sit in a wheelchair. And they say they're physically disabled, and they say no. Some people are physically, but in this particular case, they're not. They're mentally disabled because the link, the connection has been lost. It's like one of these remote things, the drones that everybody's got now. If you suddenly turn the machine off, the drone will just go. The other thing that Abba was telling me as well, I'll put it in now, when I was praying was, just because something is set aside and reserved doesn't mean it's still not part of what it was intended to be a part of. If you reserve a portion of a cake, you put it to one side, it doesn't mean it's not going to go in the cake. It just means it's going in there for a special purpose. Just because we're set aside and reserved doesn't mean we're not to be part of society. But what we are is to be part of that society with a special purpose and a special task. Too many people isolate themselves. We're not meant to be isolated. So we're part of the body, the Messianic Kehillah. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, so that he might hold first place in everything. Because it pleased Yahweh to have his full being live in his Son. All these people that say, was he divine, wasn't he divine? What does it say here? His full being lived in his Son. That's why he said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So we are called, according to his purposes, we're considered righteous by his blood, and we're glorified as his sons and daughters. So many times we think it's our responsibility. We've got to be good. We've got to do the right thing, and all of that is very valid. But at the end of the day, it's like Abraham. There was a covenant that was made with Abraham, but he was put to sleep. And while he was asleep, Yahweh enacted the covenant. It was nothing that Abraham did. And it's the same in this case. He has a covenant with us. But we're called according to his purposes. He called us. So often we think, oh, we called on him. No, he called us. If he didn't call us, there'd be no relationship. Why are we considered righteous? By the blood of the Lamb. Not because we've done anything good or not good. And are we glorified? Yes, because we're his sons and daughters. Personally, I'm absolutely blessed and humbled to be both a physical and a spiritual firstborn. And to be of the tribe of Levi. And to be redeemed by my physical and spiritual kinsman redeemer, Yeshua HaMashiach. Each of those things qualifies me to be holy or set apart. To be a shamash or a servant of the King of Kings. The Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak and Yaakov. But the most important thing of all is redemption. It's the redemption is the most important thing that qualifies me. So the shoresh, or the root of the word Torah, is yara. And yara means to shoot and hit the mark. It's an archery term. Some of us shoot the arrows and hit everything but the mark. Particularly when we do it for the first time. So it's an archery term describing the function of the arrow in full flight. And the most important thing is that the more skillful the archer, the more accurate the arrow will be. So if you want to be accurate, then you let the archer do his thing. Keep trying to guide yourself. Arrows don't turn around and say, I'm going to throw myself at that target. They have to let the archer take hold of them. Prepare them. He decides what the target's going to be, and then he lets us go. Our job is simply, once that happens, is to just relax and wait till we hit the target. And if we start to go off course, it'll just bring a bit of wind and get us back on target. Every archer knows it's not just a question of aiming at the target. You've got to account for wind gusts, distance, all sorts of things. Only a master archer is qualified to fire us as arrows.
So, Abraham, does it apply to how we pray? When we pray,
sometimes, because unless we pray according to his will, then we're not going to get the right answers. And we're certainly not going to get the results. And so often, we've been doing it this week, praying for Pamela's back because she's got a lot of backache. When we start to get to the stage where we're not getting any answers, then we're missing something. Doesn't mean he doesn't want to heal her. Doesn't mean he doesn't want to do what he wants to do. It means I'm missing something. There's something we're not hearing, something we're not doing. So we need to go back to him again and say, we don't know what we're babbling about, but we just bring it to you, and we just want you to show us what the issue is and how it needs to be fixed. And us stop saying, we think it's this, or we think it's that, we want you to heal this, or we want you to do that. And he's saying, when you're finished, let's just do it my way. And we just come to him and say, we don't know what the problem is. We just ask that you show us, or you fix it, or you give us your solution. It might work a bit better than ours. And so often we get to that stage, and we've been doing it for years, and you still don't learn sometimes. And the thing I've always done, and he's always very gently chastised me for, is by giving him choices. Well, is it this or is it that? And he just ignores me. And in the end he turned around and said, maybe it's not either. That was the biggest thing I had to learn, is I was giving him choices, and neither choice may have been right. It could have been. But you're basically saying, don't give me choices. Just ask me, and I'll give you the choices. I'll give you the answer. Like I said before, he's been talking to me about this week so often. I want this, I want that, I want the other. I need this, I need that, I need the other. And he turns around to me and says, what you think you want and what you think you need isn't necessarily what you actually need. And so often we forget that. And we just come to him and saying, you know what I need better than I do. I just lift the problem before you and just sit back and wait for an answer and a solution from you. I'm not going to stand here and say, well, is it this solution or that solution? No. He's always very gentle with me, but one day I might learn. Talmud, we are Yahweh's arrows. He keeps us in his quiver. So just relax and let the Supreme Master Bowman take aim and fire you in the right direction. And it's like the other thing I've said before, so often when we're immature in him, we turn around saying, send me, use me, use me. And as you get more mature, you learn to say, please don't send me till I'm ready. Please don't use me until you've got me where you want to get me. Because not only will I fall apart, but it will do none of the people I go to any good either. And I'll probably just get in the way of the person that you really want to go anyway. So, yeah, don't say, use me, send me. Say, please don't let me go until I'm ready. And when you're impatient like me, that's a very hard thing to learn. If you let the Supreme Master Bowman take aim and fire you, without any input from you, your job is to just sit passively against a string. You will guarantee a direct bullseye every single time. As always, this badly translated word, like a lot of badly translated words, holy just doesn't hit the mark. It's not about this word holy. It's about a word called Kadosh. Kadosh is a whole different ball game. It's a whole concept. And Kadosh means the separation of Yahweh from man's ways. You know where he says, my ways are not your ways? Because his way is Kadosh. And Kadosh is the separation of him from man's ways. Kiddush is reserved or engaged. Therefore, we are Kadosh. Kodesh is sacred or set apart, as in the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, or Ruach Elohim Chaim, which is the Spirit of the living God. Kadash is distinguished or set apart, as in the clean from the unclean. Kiddush is the set apart bracha or blessing over the wine. It's not the wine, it's the blessing over the wine. Kadesh was a city of refuge. Kadesh Barnea is the sacred wilderness mentioned so many times in Shemot or Exodus. And Kiddushin is the actual marriage ceremony after the time of betrothal. And so on. All these words are hooked in to that one particular word, Kadosh. They're all part of that whole concept. They're just different descriptions of what is encompassed within that concept. And like all Hebrew concepts, there's one diamond but many facets. Is it one single diamond? Yes. But boy, does it sparkle in lots of different directions and show you lots of different colours of different things within it. I know it sounds simple, but I just want to let you know Yahweh isn't schizophrenic. And so many people think, oh, he's this and he's that and he's the other and there's all these different things like that. He's not schizophrenic. It's all part of a well-oiled machine. Everything is in unity. Everything works in perfect harmony together. So does that mean that we should separate ourselves? Like I said before, does that mean we should go and live in a little hermit's hut in the middle of a mountain somewhere? And be holy and not mix with common people? Should we be apart and hide away with our noses firmly in the air and not actually be in the world? No! Exactly the opposite. He said that we should be in it, but not of it. Which is the total opposite of many of today's religious elite, demonstrated by they're happy to be of it, but not in it. What he says is, you're to be in it, but not of it. Very, very different. And they demonstrate this by their hypocritical behaviour. They're quite happy to accept all the benefits of being in the world, but when it comes to everything else, then we're not really of it. We're spiritual. We're set aside. We're holy people. We don't want to get involved in that sort of vulgar. That's what started the whole money lending business for the Jewish people, because they didn't want to be tainted by money. And yet who did they come to when they wanted money? Who did they come and borrow money from? Who did they kick out of the country when they didn't want to pay it back? Why were we moved around so much? Because they built up so many debts that the easiest way was to get rid of us so they wouldn't have to pay it back. That's why they put stars on us. That's why they put us in ghettos, little communities, so that we wouldn't go outside the walls and taint these holy Christian people.
Interesting, that's where the word ghetto is a verb, divorcement.
Exactly.
And that's where you get the word ghetto.
The first ghetto was
the
first ghetto was actually in Venice. They actually put them on one island, and because it was a limited amount of island, they built the first skyscrapers. The houses just went up and up and up and up because they couldn't go out and out and out. And the Jewish people in Venice all lived in the ghetto in this one place. What they don't realise is all these people try and set themselves apart and go and live somewhere separate from everywhere else. They're actually creating a ghetto. I think everybody would agree that Yeshua was more Kadosh or set apart than any living being. He went to the mountain to pray on it, but he didn't live on it. He didn't set up a little community with all his disciples and build a big wall around it and ring a bell and, He lived among people. He was there. He was amongst the people. And he expects us to be the same. What he's saying is just don't do things the way they do them. So he was more Kadosh or set apart than any living being, including us. And yet he spent most of his time right in the thick of it with the sinners, the prostitutes and the tax collectors. And boy did he get a lot of stick for that. Just like we do. How could you go to that wedding? They're drinking wine. How could you talk to that tax collector? They steal money. His comments, his instructions are what point us in the right direction. And it was that the ones who need a doctor aren't the healthy. Why is a hospital created? To take care of? Most hospitals I've seen aren't. Most hospitals I've seen are there for the doctors and the nurses and the administrators. And everything is designed around their working day and their needs and everything else. They're not there. The patients are just a nuisance. The less patients they have, the better. Because then things run much more smoothly. And they don't have to keep cleaning up after them. They call them the clients. Oh dear, I wouldn't want to be a client. And as a client, I was interested in watching all the news recently where they're having demonstrations against hospital food. Having witnessed hospital, I haven't spent time in hospital, but having witnessed the kind of food that's been fed to Pamela sometimes, I've seen better looking science experiments. And the thing is, they're actually sending frozen food from the North Island to the South Island where the best food is. They've got incredible fresh food down the South Island. They don't need the muck from the North. Anyway. So we are here for the sick, not the well. Yes, it's very nice fellowshipping with the well, but that's not what we're here for. We used to have a sign, I must get one for here as well, and you put it above the door there, and it's got, you are now entering Pamela, you remember?
Mission field.
You're now entering the mission field, or you're now entering the harvest field. The minute we go through that door, we're entering where we're meant to be. This is just to come and have a rest and a breather and get some encouragement and then get thrown back out there again. It's R&R. As soon as we finish, we're back out into the trenches.
What's the half time for you won't be going?
Yeah, so we're going to have to get oranges and lemons for half time. So he said to them, the ones who need a doctor aren't the healthy, but the sick. And as for you, go and learn what this means. I want compassion rather than animal sacrifices, because I didn't come to call the righteous, but the sinners. But even though he was calling the righteous, not calling the righteous, but calling the sinners and spending time with the sinners, he definitely was not one of them in terms of behaviour. The fact that he spent time with them didn't mean he became infected and lived like one of them. He didn't live like one of them. He never ever lowered his own standards just to fit in and be one of the guys. I've heard so many people turn around and say, I'm going to go to the pub and I can have a few beers and be one of the boys and that'll really impress them. No, it doesn't. The exact opposite. The guys in the pub know you're a hypocrite. They know your standards better than you do. I find it very funny that when my son was talking to a Baptist minister in Australia, this guy turned around and thought, I know how to get alongside him, I'll take him down the pub for a beer. And when he got there, he got him the beer. Now the first thing Stephen did was tell him afterwards, I'm a ticking time bomb. My heart could give out any time. I've got this wrong with me, that wrong with me, everything else wrong with me. Here's this guy, thought he was doing a great thing, taking him down for a beer and he could get alongside him. And he's actually telling him that giving him this beer and everything else like that could kill him. Stephen knew what he should be doing better than he did, because he got the background, he got the foundation, he just wasn't living it. Never ever lower your standards just to fit in. Doesn't mean you can't be a part of things, My biggest thing was, I'd go to corporate functions and things when I was still out there on the dark side, and I'd turn around to people and they'd ask me if I wanted a drink. I'd say, I'm sorry, I don't drink, because I've just been redeemed and I thought I was being really holy. And the guy turned around and said, yes you do, I've seen you at the tap. And I suddenly realised that how they hear it is not necessarily how I mean it. And this guy turned around and said, what you do is you get this stuff called bitter lemon, and you mix it with fresh orange juice, and every time they ask you if you want a drink, say, I'd like a St. Clement's please, and they'll think you're ordering a cocktail. And all it is lemon juice and orange juice, St. Clement's. So yes, we do drink, just not the same stuff. And I've become a little bit more relaxed now, particularly when I realised that they didn't drink grape juice at the wedding. He didn't turn water into grape juice, he turned the water into wine. Even Noach, they said he was a farmer. So what's the first thing he does? He grows a vineyard. And the first thing he does is when the vineyard is harvested, he gets drunk. And he has problems with his sons going in and out the tent. It's not what you put into your mouth, it's what you do once you have. You don't let things control you. Anything that controls you is no good for you. You're trying to tell me that Yeshua didn't drink wine? Of course he did. So this is an attitude that he got criticised for by the religious establishment, the holy people and their cronies, just like we do today. You're never going to please everybody, so stop trying. You'll always have one group or another group that you can't please. If you modify your behaviour to please this group, then this group will be out of tilt. You're never going to win. You can't please all of the people all of the time. Just some of the people, some of the time. I'm not here to please people. I'm here to please Him. And at the end of the day, as long as He says, well done, good and faithful servant, I'm happy. No matter what anybody else says. If He doesn't, then I've obviously got an interesting week ahead of me. Which I always do anyway. Like I said before, when I read these messages, I'm the one that gets taken to task on it during the week. The first thing that happens, did you really mean what you said? Are you really, it's not just you that's hearing it. I hear it, and I have to be accountable for what I've read. And that's the same with all of us. We're all equal in His sight. We're all brothers and sisters. Sabbath sums it up by saying, my ways are higher than your ways. Well, that wouldn't be hard. So Yahweh's chosen people, His Kadosh, His set apart and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with feelings of compassion and with kindness, humility, gentleness and patience. It doesn't just say, think nice thoughts. It says clothe yourself. Clothe yourself means you have to get up in the morning and you have to actually put these things on. Unless you slept in them overnight. Most of us don't. Most of us get undressed to go to bed, and then when we get up in the morning we have to put all these clothes back on again. And that's what He's saying, every day consciously clothe yourself with these things. Some of it just doesn't come naturally. Some people are morning people. Some people are nighttime people. I am not a morning person. When we first got into community, when we were first redeemed, the couple that we were staying with used to come out of their bedroom in the morning and say, isn't it beautiful? Isn't it glorious? This is the day the Lord has made. And I wanted to go, what planet are you people on? What I didn't know is they'd spent 2 hours in prayer before they came out the door, just to face us. It took them 2 hours of prayer just to put up with us. But I just saw these bright, breezy people come out of the room in the morning, and I thought, I don't know people like this. This isn't real. And it's given me books called The Normal Family. And my answer to that was, when you find one, let me know.
The normal child.
The normal child, that's right. When you find one, let me know. I've had the pleasure, the joy over the years of watching them have a family. I'm laughing. Well, the children are under the table, eating the scraps from the table that have dropped from the table, and every time they squeak, this calm, collected young GP bounds up the stairs, just about breaks his neck because they've squeaked. And I thought, well, what happened to the normal child? But I wasn't allowed to be like that. I had to just not say I told you so. So clothe yourselves with feelings of compassion and with kindness, humility, gentleness and patience. Bear with one another. And if anyone has a complaint against someone else, forgive him. We have no choice. How many times do we have to forgive? 7 times? 70 times? It's the number of infinity. What it's really saying is, you always have to forgive. There's never a time when you think, that's it, I've done my quota for the day, now I can not forgive people. You always have to forgive. You may not feel like it, you may not feel good about it once you've done it, but you have to do it. I've told before about Corrie ten Boom after she was in the concentration camp with her sister, and she was in a meeting doing her usual thing, and suddenly at the back she saw this guy and recognised him as one of the guards, one of the German guards, and he was stood at the back of the meeting. He knew who he was. He wasn't going to sit down. And she wanted to do a lot of things, but when Abba turned around and said, I want you to go up to him afterwards and I want you to forgive him, and he actually asked for forgiveness, and she was saying every fibre in her body wanted to say, not a chance. He doesn't deserve it. And Abba's answer to that is, of course he doesn't. None of us do. And she's saying, but I don't feel like it. And Abba turned around to her and said, you don't need to. And in the end, after much soul searching and gritting her teeth, she said, I forgive you. And at that point, she felt a release she'd never felt before. She was released. She'd been captive to that person. She'd been captive to all the ones that had persecuted her and her sister. When you forgive someone, it's you that gets set free, not them. Once you've done it, then they are in His hands. And it's not a good place to be if you haven't put your life right with Him. But we don't have to feel like forgiving someone. We forgive them because we deserve it, not because they deserve it. We deserve to be set free. We deserve to be released. And what they do about it is between them and Him. We are absolved of all responsibility for their response. It's our responsibility to tell people the truth. It's not our responsibility what they do with it. It's not our responsibility for them to respond or not. Our responsibility is to tell them the truth. Once we've done that, then they can't say, I never heard. Then they are responsible to Him for what they've heard. Believe me, when you start to learn these concepts, you sleep better at night. The feelings come later, sometimes. Sometimes the feelings take a few years. You can't do everything based on feelings. Feelings are not facts. They're just feelings. So clothe yourselves with feelings of compassion and with kindness, humility, gentleness and patience. In other words, don't come down to their level. Bear with one another. And if anyone has a complaint against someone else, forgive him. Indeed, just as the Lord has forgiven you unconditionally. And that's the key to forgiveness. It has to be unconditional, no strings. If there's strings attached, it's not forgiveness. If you say, I love someone, if there are strings attached, it's not love. Things that come from Him are unconditional, no conditions, no strings. I love you if you do this for me. I love you because you pay my rent. I love you there's all these different things, there's different levels. That's not love. That's not ahava. Ahava is different from the words that people use when they say, I love you, yeah, for one night. That's not love, that's lust. Ahava is different. He ahavas us unconditionally. When we first got redeemed, He loved us unconditionally. He didn't take into account all the things we'd done in the past. He forgave us for them, we asked for forgiveness, but He didn't redeem us based on those things. Like I say, love, if it's not unconditional, is not love. Forgiveness, if it's not unconditional, is not forgiveness. And above all these things, clothe yourselves with ahava, or love, which binds everything together perfectly. And let the shalom which comes from the Messiah be your heart's decision maker. This is one of my favourite parts of Scripture. I love this sentence. Let the shalom which comes from the Messiah be your heart's decision maker. Isn't that a beautiful phrase? I've forgotten now. I know it's on the end of something. I can't remember now. I will look it up. No. We'll make it your homework for this week.
Maybe Corinthians.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. It's sort of towards the end of the chapter. But I just love that. Shalom that comes from Messiah be your heart's decision maker. So Shalom, Rishon Nolad, firstborns, Shalom.